Mrs. Ames. And Mrs. Patrick?
Mr. Barnhart has been to council meetings repeatedly. And again, I would like to ask Council President to consider assigning this to committee to look into the cell phone, because when we did it last year, our answer basically was we were waiting on the state to do something, and the state still hasn't done anything. And I don't know about you, but I come within an inch of getting hit almost every time I go out to take a drive now. The cell phones are really a problem in the city, and I think it's something we should look into. I know after the whole red light thing, you don't want to do something like this, but I think he's got a very legitimate point. You know, it's a danger. So.
Okay, very good, thank you. Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, President Arnold. I'd like to address the statement by Mr. Spetnagel about Jane Moss and the parking. When I first became elected council, I had several people come up to me concerned about parking issues downtown. So I took it upon myself to ask the mayor to be allowed to ride along with Jane and shadow her for a day, and I was allowed to do that. And wow, real appreciation for what she does. She's got way too much to do, and there's a lot of issues there. So I think I think it needs reviewed. So I asked for a review on it, and the mayor had to set up a meeting for me and him and Chief Moore and Jane Moss. And the meeting, the mayor wasn't able to make it, but Matt Allen was, and Matt's very informed on that topic. Matt and the Chief of Police both had a lot of good ideas and a good understanding of what's going on, and Jane had some ideas. However, nothing came out of that meeting, nothing concrete. And I too would like to see a committee assignment on that, or a work group or something. I think possibly there's some changes that should be made there. And I'd also like to say thanks to Jane. She's got quite the job there. Also on the cell phone thing, I don't see how that would, it's not going to cost us any money. I think we're on to something there, and I think we should form a committee on that too, and I'd be willing to serve on and work on both those committees.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other old business? Mr. Sibrel?
Thank you, President Arnold. I'll tell you, I've never been so popular over the past week. I know the weather's good. Kids' games, neighbors, grocery store, everywhere I went, don't raise their water rates. Okay, number one topic. I didn't hear anyone mentioning to raise the rates. And so with that, obviously being the head of the Finance Committee, you know, I really haven't seen the numbers. Okay, and so I'd appreciate maybe, you know, I don't know what the rush is this evening to pass it, Pat, but can we possibly have a utilities committee review this week or next before the next council meeting? Because if I understand correctly, we really don't have to act upon this tonight. There's no deadlines pending on any of these legislation items, so that we can basically ask the questions around, you know, the financial pieces of it.
Mrs. Patrick, sure.
The recommendation of the rate review committee was to not raise the rates until we get the cost allocation study. We have to decide one way or another by April, beginning of April. So this is just not to do anything until we get the study.
And could we possibly then delay the three-read waiving of item number 4 on the study? At least to make sure that we're covering everything, answering everyone's questions in regards to spending $10,000 for this study. And the reason I bring that up is because we're going to base this study based on a current way we do things, right? And that may not be how we actually process water bills, for example, in the future. And when I think of that, I think of AEP and the Columbia Gas. You actually don't even go into either one of those facilities to turn your water or turn your utilities on and off. So I don't really want to make sure that we have a study done on our current processes that doesn't incorporate maybe the way we do it in the future. That's kind of what my concern is. If I could just have a time to spend on the numbers, because what I understand is there's $850,000 that's been charged over the last 5 years, and now all of a sudden back to the general fund, now all of a sudden that goes up to $1.4 million, which I understand that's a concern. That's 66% increase. Have we asked the question of why? We haven't even asked why that went up 66%. I don't feel that I've got, you know, enough information to really go forward with the study just yet. Like I said, we just need maybe a review session. That's what I'm asking for.
The reason I've asked for this is to justify the numbers. This study will justify what can and can't be taken out of utilities and put back into the general fund. And until we do the study, we can't determine whether or not we need to do anything with the rates.
I don't need a study to know, I guess I'm looking from an angle of, I don't need a study to basically determine, I need to know why did we charge 1.4 million, period. I don't know what numbers made up the 1.4.
I
That's
don't
where I'm
either.
struggling.
And that's the reason I've asked for that.
Yeah.
It used to be 857,000, and it went up to 1.39 million. And I want justification, and that's the way to do it, and this is something the state auditor will accept as, you know,
Yeah.
concrete evidence.
I don't want to dwell on
Yeah.
it too much, but I think that that's something we can ask it ourselves internally, right? We created the number.
Well, no, that's the problem, we didn't.
Who did? It's
The
in-
previous auditor did. And Mr. Spetnagel, he's looked at it, and I'll let him address it.
Tom, do you have anything to add?
If I understand your question, it's how did we come up with the number, the 1.4 million? I don't have an answer. I can't answer that question. It was from 2009 to 2010. The reimbursement cap was raised significantly, and that was a decision that was made pretty recently. It was made in December of 2009, right before I started. I have no idea what the justification is for that, and I can't provide.
One from 2003, which doesn't take into account that the billing was no longer done down in the auditor's office. It's done upstairs. I mean, there's, you know, some basic changes to the way we do business that aren't taken into account with the old study. And that's the reason for the need for the new study. And you can also use that study for grants. And again, it's justification for the state auditor.
And I guess I'd like to comment on what you stated earlier, is that there's no guarantee that we won't back pay anyway, right? Even if this study comes back and says we were overcharging, just because we're doing it doesn't mean we're going to not have to back pay. That's correct, right?
I don't think there's any guarantee of anything with the results of the study. My only point was I don't think that. I mean, I'm kind of new here, but I don't agree with the proposition that we should just do nothing. Even if it's been done wrong, I think it needs to be corrected, or we need evidence one way or another. That's my point of view.
I guess I'm just asking for another. I don't see. We have April 1st is our deadline. We have another council meeting between here and there, and I just would like to have a utilities review meeting so that we can address this particular item in detail to make sure we can dot all our I's, cross all of our T's to know that we actually truly need to spend $10,000 on this study, and that we've looked at it internally as well. That's my take on it. And if it's so busy, you need to pass it tonight, then I probably will not be voting for that. That's just want to make that
It's
clear.
actually $7,000, correct?
The cost will be $7,000.
Yes.